The plane was crashing in 8 seconds until an 11-year-old girl took control and saved everyone. The sky was calm, the sunlight was soft, and passengers were settling comfortably into their seats as the airplane cruised smoothly above the clouds. Children were laughing, people were reading books, and flight attendants were serving drinks. No one had the slightest idea that in just a few minutes their peaceful journey would turn into a nightmare. Among the passengers was an 11-year-old girl named Mia, traveling with her mother. Mia loved airplanes. She always sat near the window and watched the wings. She had spent hours playing flight simulators at home, learning buttons, switches, and how planes worked. But of course, she never imagined she would need those skills in real life. Everything changed in a single terrifying moment. A loud explosion shook the cabin. People screamed as drinks fell, bags dropped, and oxygen masks suddenly dangled from the ceiling. The airplane began to tremble violently. Mia grabbed her seat tightly as her mother shouted her name. The lights flickered, and an alarm started beeping loudly from the cockpit. Then came the pilot's panicked voice through the speakers. "Everyone remain calm. We are experiencing a major failure. Please." His voice cut off before he could finish. The plane tilted sharply to the left. Passengers cried and held onto each other. Some prayed. Others closed their eyes tightly, unable to believe what was happening. Inside the cockpit, things were even worse. A critical engine failure had caused the aircraft to lose stability. The co-pilot was slumped over, unconscious, and the pilot was struggling desperately to control the plane. The warning screen flashed red. Impact in 8 seconds. They were dropping too fast. Mia heard the flight attendants shouting instructions, trying to calm everyone. But beneath their voices, she caught something else, a strange silence from the cockpit doorway. The door had swung slightly open during the turbulence. Through the gap, she saw the pilot leaning forward, struggling to keep the plane level. Her heart pounded. Something inside her told her she needed to move. "Mia, stay here," her mother yelled, holding her arm. But Mia shook her head. "Mum, something is wrong. The pilot needs help." Before her mother could stop her, Mia unbuckled her seatbelt and rushed toward the cockpit. The plane continued to shake violently, throwing her forward, but she grabbed seatbacks and kept moving. When she reached the cockpit door, she pushed it open and gasped. The co-pilot was unconscious. The pilot was pale, sweating, and fighting the controls with trembling hands. The alarms were deafening, and the aircraft was still dropping rapidly. "Sir?" Mia cried. The pilot turned slightly and stared at her in shock. An 11-year-old girl, standing in the doorway during an emergency. But he didn't have the strength to question it. "We're losing control," he said, breathlessly. "Engine failure, hydraulics." Mia looked at the control panel. It was chaotic, flashing lights, warning messages, shaking levers. But she recognized some things from her flight simulator. "Let me help," she whispered. The pilot hesitated. He had no other option. He nodded weakly. Mia climbed into the co-pilot seat. Her hands trembled, but she took a deep breath. She remembered her dad's words when she used to play the simulator. "Never panic. The plane listens to calm hands." With courage far beyond her age, Mia placed her small hands on the controls. The plane jerked again, and a new alarm screamed, "Stall warning!" "We're falling too fast," the pilot shouted. Mia pushed the nose up gently, not too hard, just enough to give the wings lift. The plane steadied slightly, but it was still dangerously unstable. She grabbed the radio headset. "Hello, I'm Mia. The pilot is hurt. We need help." Her voice shook, but she spoke clearly. On the other end, air traffic control went silent for a moment. A child was calling for help from a failing aircraft. "Mia, we hear you," the controller finally said. "Listen to me carefully. You're doing great. Keep the airplane level." Mia nodded quickly and followed his instructions. She adjusted the altitude and tried to keep the wings stable. But the plane was still losing speed. It shook violently every few seconds. The passengers behind her screamed with every drop. The controller continued guiding her. "Okay, Mia, pull the throttle slowly. Good. Now keep your eyes ahead. Don't let the nose dip." The pilot tried helping, but his strength was fading. "You're doing it, you're keeping us alive," he whispered. Sweat dripped down Mia's forehead. Her hands were turning red from gripping the controls so tightly. The nose of the plane dipped again, and she pulled it up quickly. Her heart raced. The ground was getting closer. "Please, please don't crash," she whispered to herself. The radio crackled again. "Mia, listen. You have to hold the plane steady for just a little longer. We're locating a safe landing area." Behind her, passengers cried and prayed, unaware that a child was fighting to save them. But Mia didn't look back. She kept her eyes forward, her hands steady, and her courage strong. She had only started. This was just the beginning of the most unbelievable rescue in aviation history. The plane was crashing in 8 seconds until an 11-year-old girl took control and saved everyone. Mia's hands were shaking, but her mind stayed focused. The air traffic controller's calm voice guided her one step at a time. Behind her, the passengers held on tightly, the cabin filled with cries, prayers, and the constant rattling of the aircraft. "Mia, you're doing great," the controller said through the headset. "Now listen carefully. You need to turn the plane slightly to the right. There's an open field we can use." She nodded, even though they couldn't see her. Slowly, she pushed the control yoke to the right. The airplane groaned as it changed direction. The wings tilted, and the passengers screamed again. "Steady, steady," the controller instructed. Mia centered the plane again. "I did it," she whispered. "You're amazing," the pilot whispered weakly beside her. His voice had grown faint. He was fading fast. His head leaned back, and he struggled to stay awake. You saved us from crashing. Now you just have to land." Land. The word made Mia's heart pound harder. Flying straight was one thing. Landing a huge commercial airplane was something even adults struggled with. "But I've never landed a plane before," she said, her voice small and shaking. "You don't have to do it alone," the controller assured her. "I'm right here with you. Just follow me, step by step." The ground outside the window was getting closer, too close. The altimeter dropped rapidly as the plane continued descending. Mia reduced the speed a little, slowly pulled back the throttle. She did. The engine softened, the roar decreasing just enough to help her regain control. The shake of the plane eased, but not completely. "Good. Now extend the landing gear." She searched the controls, then pulled the lever she remembered from the simulator. A loud mechanical noise followed. The gear lowered. "Landing gear is down," she said, trying to sound brave. The pilot nodded weakly. "Perfect. You're doing everything right." But Mia knew they still weren't safe. The field they were aiming for wasn't large. One mistake could flip the aircraft, and the plane's hydraulics were damaged, making it harder to control. "Okay, Mia," the controller said. "You're approaching the field. Keep the nose slightly up, not too much." "Good. Hold that position." The wind hit the plane hard. It rocked side to side. Mia tightened her grip on the controls. "We're too fast," she said. "You're right," the controller replied. "Flaps down to reduce speed." She pressed the flap lever. The plane slowed, but the sudden drag caused the aircraft to drop sharply. The passengers screamed. Mia pulled up quickly, her hands trembling. "You're doing great, Mia," the controller repeated. "Almost there. Keep it steady." The field was seconds away now. Her mother, sitting in the cabin, sobbed and whispered, "Please, God, protect my daughter." Inside the cockpit, Mia felt the weight of every life behind her. One wrong move could end everything. One right move could save them all. "Okay, Mia," the controller said gently. "Pull back just a little. Let the plane touch the ground softly." But nothing about this landing was going to be soft. The plane hit the ground with a violent jolt. Mia gripped the controls as the whole aircraft bounced back into the air. "Don't panic," the controller shouted. "Keep the nose up. Let it settle again." The aircraft hit the ground a second time, harder than before. Sparks flew from the landing gear. Luggage compartments popped open. People screamed and ducked. Mia refused to let go. The plane skidded across the field, dirt flying everywhere. The noise was deafening. Wheels dug into the ground. The aircraft shook like it was breaking apart. "Brake, Mia, pull the brake lever," the controller said. She pulled it with all her strength. The plane slowed and slowed and finally, after sliding nearly 300 meters, stopped completely. Silence. For a full 3 seconds, no one moved, no one breathed. Then the cabin erupted with cries, this time cries of relief. People sobbed, hugged each other and prayed in gratitude. Some fell to their knees, others shouted, "We're alive! We're alive!" Mia slumped back in the co-pilot's seat, her whole body trembling. Her face was pale and wet with tears. She didn't even realize she had been crying. The pilot looked at her with disbelief and pride. "You saved us," he whispered. Crew members rushed to the cockpit. When they saw Mia sitting at the controls, they froze. "You?" one of them gasped. "You did this?" Mia couldn't speak. She only nodded. Rescue vehicles arrived quickly. Ambulances, firefighters, police. They surrounded the field, helping passengers off the plane. Everyone kept asking the same question. "Who landed the plane? How did we survive? What happened in the cockpit?" When Mia finally stepped out of the plane, people stared at her like she was a miracle. Some clapped, others cried, a few bowed their heads in respect. Mia's mother ran to her, hugging her so tightly it almost hurt. "You're my brave girl," she whispered through tears. "You saved all of us." Reporters arrived, cameras flashed. But Mia didn't care about fame or praise. All she cared about was that everyone was safe. The air traffic controller who guided her finally arrived on site. He knelt down, looked into her eyes and said, "Mia, I've talked to thousands of pilots in my life, but you're the bravest one I have ever spoken to." For the rest of the world, it became the most unbelievable rescue story in aviation history. How an 11-year-old girl, using nothing but courage and her memory of a flight simulator, took control of a failing plane and saved every soul on board. And Mia, she never called herself a hero, but everyone else did.